Hello, and a good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of the tube. For today, hope you're feeling grand and all as well. The intro jam has made me very sleepy. Just kind of like, kind of just drifting off. Anyway, if I fall asleep during the questions, you know what's happened. Anyway, so let's get to question one today, shall we? Okay, so question one today is, you mentioned playing along to songs is a good way to practice. How do you approach that, though? Do you find the key of a song and then just play lead over it, or do you play the chords? Well, I do both. I just realised that was clever. I turned the mains off without turning my amp off. That's clever. Don't do that, people. That's really stupid. It's because I'm not there. The intro jam fried my brain. Anyway, so let's get back to the question. So do I find a key of a song and then just play lead all over it, or do I play the chords? I like to learn the whole song. Front to back. There was a period of time where I was obsessed with becoming a lead guitarist. That what I did is I did find the key of the song and just play lead over it. But outside of that, I still learned songs front to back, and I still do that now. I don't actually like learning bits of songs. If there's one bit of a song I like, I have to learn the whole song. I can't just learn that one bit. You know, I want to learn the whole thing. I want to understand it. I want to know how we get to that bit in the first place. Because I just don't like being half-arsed about it. I like to do the whole thing. You know, if it comes to a solo, invariably, if it's not like a set in stone guitar solo, I'll improvise something. But if it's something like Sweet Child of Mine, you play the solo. You know what I mean? You can't improvise a better solo to certain songs. You know what I mean? Sweet Child of Mine, Bold as Love by Jimi Hendrix. Countless others. You know, you can't really improvise those solos because they are part of the song. You know what I mean? Yes, it's a guitar solo, but it's such a big part of the song that you don't really want to be messing around with it. But like I say, when I first started to want to kind of do lead guitar, I had a tape of Guns N' Roses live in Paris, and I think it's in '92. I've still got it somewhere. I think it's in that room actually somewhere. I had a tape of them live in Paris. It was the one that was kind of like screened worldwide on TV. I don't even know where that tape came from, to be honest with you. It just appeared. I don't remember where it came from. But that album, what I used to do, what I used to do for that is I used to find the key to every song and just basically whittle over the top of it. Just go nuts, basically, for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to figure out the shapes and patterns that I had found. You know what I mean? When I was learning guitar and I was kind of like, okay, what does this do and where does that go? You know, I then had to kind of put that into a practical sense. It was all well and good me knowing which notes worked in what key, but I didn't know how to use them. It was that whole thing I'd say all the time about, like, you know, you can learn the alphabet, but it doesn't mean you know how to spell. So, that playing along to Guns N' Roses to that tape gave me, even though they're in E flat, which I didn't even know at the time, you know, it was 2003, 2004, that would have been, and I didn't know about down tuning, you know, E flat. I didn't know any of that. It didn't make sense. No one told me about it. It didn't make sense. You know, I just thought, you know, that's where they played, in E flat. You know, if they were doing a Sweet Child, I actually learn. Oh, don't play it. I actually learned Sweet Child of Mine and stuff like Basket Case and certain other songs in flat, but I learned it without down tuning my guitar. So instead of it being in E for Basket Case, I was in E flat there. And same with Sweet Child of Mine. Instead of playing it in the E minor pentatonic position, it'd be there. Because again, no one was around to tell me about down tuning. No one knew. You know what I mean? It wasn't. You know, I didn't know that. I didn't discover that till Jimi Hendrix. Actually, I found that out in Jimi Hendrix. Is the one who kind of taught me that one. Anyway, so what I did basically is just like, you know, I say Mr. Brownstone came on, I'd be like, right, what key is that in? Oh, there it is, it's in E flat. Okay, so we're just gonna, I knew this was the starting point. Oh. I knew that was like a starting point. I knew I could go from there. And basically then just kind of scale the neck. It sounded terrible. Bear that in mind, people with you. But it didn't sound good, but that's the point. You know what I mean? It was through countless hours of failing that you learn. You know what I mean? To go to know where to not go and where to go. So So yeah, I mean that's it. I mean when I first wanted to start becoming a lead guitarist, I put not all my time, but I put a lot of time into that kind of thing of just kind of like really kind of going, right, I'm just going to solo for hours, over these songs. I'm just going to let the tape run through all the way through, and then I'm going to put it back to the beginning. I'm going to press play again, and I'm going to do it again and again and again and again and again. And I did that for ages. I don't know how long. It was a long, long time. And it gave me a better understanding of how to go up and down the neck and play across the neck, and instead of just kind of up and down, which is kind of like somewhere you can kind of fall into if you're not careful. I think playing across the neck is so much nicer. I think it gives you more. I think it's more melodic to play across the neck than it is kind of up and down. If that makes any sense. Anyway. But like I say, when I learned songs after that kind of thing of doing that, but like I say, well, while I was doing that, I was still learning songs front to back. Like I still love doing that now. I don't like learning bits of a song. I want to learn the whole thing, and it gets on my nerves when I just kind of like, if I just randomly stumble across one bit of a song, and I'm like, what's the rest of it? I have to go away and learn it. I really like that. I think that's a really good habit to be in. I don't think it's a good idea to be kind of lazy when it comes down to that thing. I think you should be learning full songs. And if the solo is integral to that song, learn that solo. If it's not, improvise one. Mess around. So that's what I did. I mean, if you want to focus on lead, then I mean, there's no harm that can be done from just putting an album on and figuring out each key of each song and then just going over the top of it. Because, again, what you're doing is you're learning practically, which is always a good thing. Learning theoretically, for me, doesn't work. That's just me, though. That might work for some other people. Doesn't work for me at all. But, you're putting all that stuff that's in your head into practice instead of it just kind of like sitting there kind of like in a theoretical standpoint, if that makes any sense. So, but I really do feel it's really important to learn songs front to back. You know what I mean? Every part of it. I remember I really wanted to learn one bit of Diary of a Madman by Ozzy Osbourne and Randy Rhoads. And there's one bit I really wanted to learn, but it was like, well, that's all well and good, but you can't just play that one bit. You need to learn it all. So I did, and I remember figuring out the intro, kind of that really cool kind of classical, that cool kind of classical intro bit. I figured that out note for note because I can't read tab and I can't read music. I just did it by ear, note by note. I'm playing it really bad, so hopefully, you know why. Anyway, but there's so much more gratification in that, and you learn so much more, and you develop your ear as well by doing that. And again, that's another thing. Learning things by ear, not relying on tab books or anything like that. Just kind of like really sitting down and developing your ear is really important. Instead of just kind of like going online and finding how to play it. You know what I mean? If you get really stuck, that's cool. It's always nice to have that. But I think it's really good to push yourself and challenge yourself and go, right, I need to do this by ear. You know what I mean? And it's so much more rewarding to do that than just to kind of like cop it out and just kind of like, go and have somebody show you it. It's cool to do if you get really stuck or if it's kind of like a bit complex, the song maybe. But you really do need to put the hours in developing your ear to figure out what's going on and where it's going kind of thing. So you can understand kind of like what's the root note, what's the chord progression, what's the pattern, whatever. You really need to do that. And again, learning a song front to back is important. When I first started playing guitar, I knew so many guitarists who knew bits of songs, but no one ever knew full songs. I always found that really weird. So you get people who knew the riff to Tenacious D Tribute, which was the thing at the time. It was kind of like a new song when I first started playing. So that was the song I played. But people only knew the riff, the A minor riff. No one knew anything else. Same with like Stairway to Heaven. Everyone knew the Stairway to Heaven riff, didn't know the whole song. Smoke on the Water, no one knew the whole song. What other stuff we got? Loads of other songs. People didn't know the whole song. They just knew riffs. Crazy Train, Enter Sandman. And that never felt right. And it was something I got kind of into my system very early on, really. It was just kind of like learn songs front to back. You know, I don't, and I still do that now. I don't like learning bits of a song. It seems like I'm doing it injustice. Because you are, really, in my opinion. You know, it's you're not giving it the attention and the respect the song deserves. You're just kind of like learning one bit, and I don't think that's cool. I think it's cool to learn the whole thing and be able to play the whole thing front to back as well. Instead of just kind of like winging it and just kind of going, oh, I only know that bit, you know. It's never enough for me to just learn a bit of a song. It drives me insane. And I have to learn the whole thing. You know, there's actually there are songs that sometimes I won't play for ages and I'll forget them and I have to go back and relearn them. And invariably I'll relearn it a different way to the way I played it before, which is always fun. But I think it's really important to develop your ear when you're learning music and stuff like that. But like I said, if you want to kind of focus on lead, just finding a key to a song and just whittling over the top of it is not a bad thing. Just as long as you go away and do other things as well. Don't just kind of like stick to that, like, you know, all day, every day. Like I said, I did it for hours, but then I would always go away and I would play Dookie, Front to Back by Green Day, or By the Way by the Chili Peppers front to back, or Jimi Hendrix some albums front to back. You know what I mean? I would do that as well as all the widdly because again, it puts into a practical use, and that I keep saying that like a bit of a broken record, but that's where I feel you learn more. If you're putting this knowledge you have in your head into practical use, it'll develop you faster than just kind of like going, how can I theoretically think about this? I don't think that works. But again, that's me. But yeah, so I would, if you're gonna learning songs, yeah, I mean it is good to improve. But what I would say is, like I say, learn all the parts, learn all the parts. You know, and don't just learn one bit of a song. Learn the whole thing. You know, and if the solo is integral to that song, learn that solo note for note. You know, you can learn a lot by learning other people's guitar solos, and you can take a lot as well, which is always good. So that's what I would recommend. Like I say, if you really want to focus on lead, then do the whole thing of just kind of finding a key and just soloing over the entire song. But always make sure you go back to playing rhythm as well. You know, don't neglect rhythm just because. You know what I mean? It's something that I didn't really feel I wanted to do. I still wanted to play just kind of like I after playing along to that Guns N' Roses tape for like maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours of just soloing, I would always want at the end of that to go and just play along to Conspiracy of One by The Offspring, you know, front to back, and just play power chords. No solos, I just wanted to play power chords, and I still have that now. There's some days where I want to just play Green Day and Offspring songs, you know, and not don't want a solo. I just want to play power chords, and I like that, you know. So bear that in mind. Anyway, but yeah, learning songs front to back is important. Learning to put all your knowledge in a practical sense is mega important. You know, don't just keep it theoretical. Use it in that way, if that makes any sense. So yeah, so anyway, I hope it's made some kind of sense, and I'm gonna have to move on because otherwise I'll talk about that for hours, and I'm gonna have to be careful of time. Okay, so yeah, I hope that made sense. I don't know. Already, I'm like, that was a terrible answer. So if that was a terrible answer, I'm very, very sorry. Okay, I'm gonna move on to question 2 now. Okay, so question 2 is, what do you think to Prince as a guitar player? Awesome. Prince is one of those jammy gits who could do anything really well. He could play drums, guitar, bass, you know, he could sing, he could dance, he could move, he could do everything. He could songwrite, he could produce, he could record. He's just one of those people that was just an absolute genius. You know what I mean? To me. You know what I mean? I don't really listen to his music a great deal, but I've got immense respect for the man. You know what I mean? And his guitar, I love his guitar playing. You know, his soloing is, his guitar playing, his soloing is amazing. His rhythm playing is amazing. His bass playing is amazing. His drum playing is amazing. The man's a genius. As simple as that. You know what I mean? He really was. I mean, he was a bit of a funny character, but you can't. You know, I find it really hard to deny that genius factor in him because it was there in spades. You know what I mean? That man was an absolute force to be reckoned with. You know what I mean? Not only is in the guitar, but bass, drums, and everything. You know, songwriting, world, you know, you name it. But when it comes down to his guitar playing, I love his guitar playing. I mean, he takes so much from Jimi Hendrix as well. It'd be really hard for me to not love his guitar playing. You know, I've seen him stand on stage and he moves like Jimmy. You know, sometimes he moves like Jimmy. And he does that thing where he puts his arm down and then slides back that thing. You know, and he'll do that kind of like the arm shuffle thing that Jimmy does and move his face in the way Jimi Hendrix moved his face, and also attack the guitar in the way Jimi Hendrix attacked the guitar. You know, so there's a lot of Jimi Hendrix imprints. There really is. You can see it. It's really plain to see. You can see he was a huge influence on him. Even the way Prince dresses sometimes looks like Jimi Hendrix. The way he carries himself looks like Jimi Hendrix. You know, like I say, the way he plays guitar reminds me loads of Jimi Hendrix. You know, there's so much of it in there. But I love his guitar player. I love his tone. He's a fellow DS2 user, so all's good there. And you can really tell it. You can really tell it's the DS2 when he kicks that thing on. It's just got that distinctive DS2 tone. But his guitar playing's amazing. You know, it really is. It's awe-inspiring sometimes. It really is. I think it's kind of... I don't think he's as underrated as he was, but I still think he's a bit underrated as a guitarist. Because I think people see the poppier stuff and they don't see the guitar behind it necessarily. You know, it's funny. It's really weird. But I love it. I love his playing. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of his music. Some of it I really, really love. Some of it I really just don't get along with. Which again, fair enough. You don't have to like everything. But when it comes down to his musician skills and his musicianship, it's, you know, the man was a genius. He really was. It's incredible what he could do. It really is. You know, he was just insanely good. Okay, so I hope that's the question. I'm going to move on to question 3 now. That was a bit weird. Anyway, question 3 is, what other Orange amps do you like besides the CR120? The OR15, the OR series in general. I've never tried an OR100. I really want to try an OR100. I might have to see if I can borrow one from Orange. The OR15, though, is an amazing amp. I love that amp. The AD30 as well. The AD30 is a cool amp. I prefer the head to the combo, though. The combo was okay, but the head was better, in my opinion. The Rockaverbs are really, really cool. I think I prefer the ORs to the Rockaverb, though. I've never tried, like, there's, like, the Thunderverb, isn't it? I've never tried that. What else is there? I'd love to try a really old Orange amp. When I was in Old Hat, we had a really old Orange bass head. I forget what it was actually called, but it was just an Orange bass head from the 70s. And it was heavier than the world. But my God, did it sound good when you put a bass through it. It was just thunderous. It was, you know, the world ends, you know, the mountains fall when you turn that thing on. The only problem was when you plugged the guitar into it, it exuded too much low end. It was just a bit too big, and you couldn't really get a guitar to go through it, unfortunately. And it wasn't like a Marshall Super Bass or a Fender Bassman. When you put a guitar through that Orange bass amp, it just was bassy, you know what I mean? It sounded great for a bass, but really naff for a guitar. But I'd love to try one of the original kind of Orange amps from the 70s, you know, the ones that like you see Paul Kossoff playing through on the Beat Club sessions and Tony Iommi playing through on the Beat Club sessions and those kind of things. I'd love to try one of those at some point. But again, you know, I can't afford to buy one of those things because they're so expensive, but I would love to try one. But I'd say next to the CR120, I think my favourite Orange amp is the OR series. I've never tried an OR100. I really want to try the ORs. But I found the OR series had a smoother distortion to the Rockaverbs. The Rockaverbs have a bit of a gnarl to them. And that's very present in the CR120 as well, if you turn up the mid-range especially. There's a gnarl there. When you run the CR120, like I always run it if I'm going straight into distortion channel with everything on 0, you get more of that kind of OR warmness. So the OR is definitely probably my favourite Orange amp beneath the CR120. It just sounds mega, you know. I just love it. I love it. It's really smooth and warm, and I like it. It's a lot. I'll say it's less harsh than the Rockaverb is. The Rockaverb's got a little bit more kind of, you know, cat scratch. And same with the AD as well. The AD30, that's got a bit of a kind of scratch to it. But I do love the ORs. Like I say, I'm going to have to see if I can borrow one from Orange and see if we can do a demo of the OR100, because I've always wanted to try one, and I do love the ORs. It'd be very, very cool to find out, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to think if there's any others. I do like the micro terrors and stuff like that. The dark terrors and stuff like that. I've tried those. They're good. They're not really for me as an amp goes. They're cool, but they're not for me. Like the little lunchbox amp things. I'm trying to think if there's any others. Like I said, I've never tried with like a Thunderbird or anything like that. Can't think of any others. But in all fairness, for CR, when it comes down to orange amps, the CR120 it still rules the roost for me. As much as I love the OR series and the Rock of Herbs and stuff like that, the CR120 still blows me away. I like the fact it gives me a different sound to the Marshalls and the Boss Katanas. It's definitely different. I think it's darker personally. The Marshalls got a lot more cut, and the Katana's got a bit more cut. The orange is a lot darker sound, and I like that. Because it's a little bit different to that kind of cutting sound. It's got a warmthness, a roundness to the sound. There's no real kind of sharp edges to it, which again is another thing that really drew me to the CR in the first place. Was especially with pedals. Even when you plug straight in, there's not many sharp edges to it unless you put them in using the EQ. But with pedals, I like the way the amp responds because, like I say, it just kind of rounds everything off. It smooths everything out. There's no real sharp edges to anything, and I really like that. Makes everything kind of like warm and fuzzy, and I like that. The Marshall, the MGs sometimes, well, but not sometimes, they do. They've got a bit more of a cut to them. Same thing with the Katana as well. The way the Katana kind of dialed in, they've got a bit more of a cut, which is good in some respects, definitely. But the orange is weird in the fact that it's round and smooth, but it still has cut. It doesn't have as much, definitely not, but it still has it. It's really cool. Love it. Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's any others I've tried that I really liked. It's mainly the Crush series I've tried because obviously I like them because they're solid state. But like I say, when it comes down to valve amplifiers, the OR was definitely my favourite. Like I say, we had it in old hat, the OR15. We had the 112 cab and the 15 watt head, and that thing was amazing from day one. I remember loving it, so I remember I used it quite a lot. And it does so much. It was a single channel amp, but it did so many different sounds. It was insane. There's so much on the gain channel. Again, same way as the CR120. There's so much in just one channel. It's insane. Anyway, but yeah. So I would say that's kind of like where I am with that one. Is the OR is probably the next below the CR120. So yeah. I hope that answers your question. Okay, moving on to final question of the day. Okay, so I'm gonna take a drink for this one because this one could go on for a while. Brace yourselves, people of the tube. Here we go. Question 4 today. Do you think music comes from within the person playing it, or do you think music takes energy from somewhere else and projects it through their instrument? Yeah, the last one. I feel we're just marionettes. Music does with us what it wants. It projects our emotions that we feel, but it tells us and shows us and controls us how to do it, if that makes any sense. If we're feeling down and kind of upset or happy or whatever, music's able to kind of understand that and then channel that through us and help us channel that emotion and understand it, if that makes any sense. Instead of it just kind of like being stuck, if that makes any sense. But I don't think it comes from us necessarily. The emotion does. Sometimes. Music controls us. Let's put it that way. That's right. Okay, let's just... I don't necessarily think we're in control, or we shouldn't be in control. I think unconscious playing is the best way to be. Just let music do what it wants to do. You know what I mean? Don't fight that. Don't let it... don't let your kind of brain get in the way of what it wants. You know what I mean? It can... Music knows if you're upset. Music knows if you're happy, sad, heartbroken, lonely, whatever. It knows what to do. And it knows how to manipulate you to emote those feelings through this thing, if that makes any sense. It knows how to transform that emotional energy into music, if that makes any sense. We can't. I don't think we're capable of doing that, because I think we just get stuck in that. Whereas music has a bit more of an understanding of energy and emotion, so it can take our emotion and our feeling, and it can manipulate us in a way that where it all comes out through this. You know what I mean? It then becomes another voice, if that makes any sense. You know, but like I said, I mean, I've said it a million times that, like, you know, you just go numb to it. You just shut your brain off, and you just let it carry you away. You know, you just submit to music. And there's no point trying to fight it, because why would you want to do that? You know, unconscious playing is the best way to go. It really is. If you're not conscious of what you're doing, there's such a better way to be playing music than being constantly switched on, if that makes any sense. You know, you can be switched on and turned off all at the same time with music. You just don't want to be switched on all the time. You know what I mean? You can be in like a band situation where you're totally away. You know, you're away, you're gone. You know, and at that point in time, all there is music, and but at the same time, you can still be totally aware of your surroundings and what your bandmates are doing, or what's going on musically. You know what I mean? And you can react and be still present with it, but not at the same time. Like I say, you can be turned off and turned on all at the same time, whereas you don't want to be just have your brain all the time going, oh, what's going on? You don't want that. I don't think that's a good way to be at all. I think the whole concept of music is just let it flow. If it's not flowing, something's wrong. You know, you're either thinking about it too much, or there's something not right. You know, you just want to be unconscious to it. I've said that so many times, but I really do feel that's super important. Is kind of like to not overanalyze and just kind of let things be what they be in a moment. You know what I mean? There's no point trying to fix the past. If you make a mistake, you've made a mistake. There's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? Talking of live performance, anyway. Even in recording, if you make a mistake, sometimes it's cool to leave it. You know what I mean? If you make a mistake, sometimes let it be. You never know. You never know what that mistake might conjure up. But I don't think it necessarily comes from us. Like I said, I don't think music, like, you know, comes from within us. I think it just gets beamed to us. You know, and like I say, we just become a marionette. You know, we're just a puppet on a string, and music takes over, and it says, right, okay, you're feeling this. This is what you need to do to get that out, and I'm going to help you. So let's go. That's kind of what's going on, and it basically what it requires of you is like to go like a marionette, just limp and let it take control. You know, just submit totally to its will. It knows better. It knows better than we do. It knows what needs to do, and it will do it. If you let it, if you fight it, it'll just be like, well, what the hell? You know, it's like if somebody's trying to help you, if you fall over and somebody tries to help you up, and you're just like, no, go away, I can do it, but you can't. That person's eventually going to walk off and go, well, fine, you know what, if you don't want help, fine. You know, and music, I feel, is the same way. You know, you need to let it take you. You can't just be kind of like, you know, fighting it all the time, and you don't want to be fighting music anyway. Well, you know, what's the point in that? If you're a musician, you want to let it in with open arms, like, you know, to take me now, you know, literally. So I think this comes from somewhere else, and it's just a projection, but at the same time, it is you. If that makes any sense, like, you know, it is your emotions, but music is helping you project those feelings and get all that out of you, instead of you just kind of like you going, I don't know how to do this. It's like, you know, music will come on and goes, don't worry, I know. So just let me take control, you know, and you just do what I tell you. You just do what I manipulate you into doing, you know. And I think that's really important. I think that's really, really important when it comes down to playing an instrument. Is just like letting the whims of music just kind of like take you and kind of like control you, and that way, you know, you have that really cool relationship. It's not there all the time. You know, you can't expect it to kind of like, sometimes it won't be there, and you know, and that's okay. You know, it's the way it works. That's the way things are. But the more you submit, the more it finds you. The more the more it sees you as a willing conduit, the more it'll go, okay, you know, and you'll get different things. I don't think it's just like one thing that projects into you and projects out of you and manipulates you. I think there's multiple kind of musical things out there, and you'll get one day, and then the next day you'll get something totally different. And they control you in different ways, and they want you to do certain things differently. Like, you know, you might get an angry one, you might get a sad one, you might get an upset one, and these things will find you when you're in that place. You know what I mean? You know, it's again, it all comes down to unconscious thought, not thinking, letting go. Just, it'll be what it'll be. You know what I mean? You're not trying to kind of like go out your way to force anything, because forcing things is never a good thing. You know what I mean? It's not going to work. You know, trying to get a square peg in a round hole. You know, it's stupid. So you just relax and let go. You know what I mean? It's not scary. You know what I mean? It's extremely liberating. The only problem with letting go and letting music take control, and this isn't a problem really, is coming back to reality afterwards. Because the world doesn't look the same afterwards. If I'm sure some of you'll know what I mean. Like, yeah, when you've been playing, you can just, if you just let music take you, it'll take you where it needs you to go. It'll just take you away. And in doing that, that place you go is awesome. And coming back from there sometimes is really hard and sometimes really not enjoyable, and you just kind of want to stay there. I know I do. Because it's just so freeing. You know what I mean? But I like I said, I just feel that music, it controls us, and it knows what it wants from us. All we need to do is just submit to it. It's very easy. It's very simple, and I love it for that. You know, that whole idea of just kind of like, don't think, don't let your brain get into that equation. Just sit back, ride it. Yeah, well, don't even ride it. Just it is ride it. Yeah, it's got hold of the wheel. It's got control of the pedals and the gears, and you know, you're just in the passenger seat. All you need to do is just accept it, submit to it, and become unconscious to it, and let it do what it wants to do. It will express your emotions because it knows how to. We can, as humans, we can get stuck in emotions of like, oh, I don't know how to express that. What do I do? What do I do? Music knows exactly what to do. It always has, you know. It was here way before us. It'll be here way after us, and that you know, because of that experience, it knows. And like I said, there are multiple musical energies. I don't know if you want to call it energies. I don't really know what to call it. But there's multiple musical things out there that will find you when you need it. It's never the same one, I don't feel. There's always different emotions that come through. But maybe it is the same one. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're not supposed to know, I don't think. And I think that's the awesome thing about this is like, you know, do you know? No. No one does. No one actually knows. But that's the point. You know, maybe it's bigger than us, and maybe we're not supposed to know. And that's okay by me. You know, I just want to just go, you know, I'm here. Go for it. Do what you're gonna do, because I love it when it just takes you away, and you can just be free for however long that piece of music is, or whatever, how long the gig is, or whatever. And it's just really important to just submit. You know, relinquish control of yourself and your emotions, and just let them flow, instead of just being like, no, I'm going to fight you. You know, what? Why? You're not going to achieve anything at that rate. But you know, if you submit to it, you get that kind of like that high feeling where I am. No, where after this intro, I just feel so sleepy from it. Though. I don't know what it was purging, but there was something coming out, and I like it. And again, you don't always have to understand it. You just have to accept it. Just submitting to things, it's everything. So yeah, be that what I mean. I hope that kind of makes some kind of sense. I mean, I've spoken about this quite a lot in the past, but like I said, I don't necessarily think it comes from us. I think things just kind of get beamed to us and beamed into us, and yes, it can be our emotion, definitely, and our heartache, our sadness, our grief, our happiness, our our joy, our elatedness, our hyperness, whatever. I do apologise on my phone. It can be all that, but it's not us who are in control of expressing it. Music is guiding us and showing us how to do it. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense whatsoever. It may be our emotions, but we don't know how to show it if music wasn't there. If that makes any sense. So it's definitely a projection. Like I say, all we have to do is just go unconscious, let it take us away, and that is what it is. And I like that. I like the idea of just kind of like release. And there's no. It's the best thing in the world. It really is. Just going somewhere else, letting music take you, and you just let it take you where it wants to take you, and just shut everything else out. There's nothing else at that point in time. There's nothing else that matters at that point in time. It's literally just music. It's not guitar. It's not bass. It's not drums. It's not vocals. It's not a brass section, a string section, or anything like that. It's just music. And it's unconscious music, and it's just pure emotion as well, just flowing. And that, to me, is just the best thing in the world, and I think that's really important. To just go with, if that makes any sense. Like, you don't want to be overanalyzing and kind of trying to understand everything. I think there's beauty in not understanding, and I don't think you should understand everything, and just let things be what they are, instead of trying to go, I need to understand this. Not necessarily. Sometimes not understanding makes things better. You can know too much, I think, is what I'm trying to say there. So but yeah, I don't necessarily think music comes from us. The emotion, definitely. Sometimes you get beamed emotion from something else. It's weird. Invariably it's your emotions coming through, but sometimes you can channel other people's emotion. You know what I mean? Or you can get emotion from somewhere else and you don't really understand why. It just happens. But again, it's up to music to dictate what it wants of you. You just have to do what it wants. My God, it's the Dave hotline. You know what I mean? It's simple as that. You just let it do what it wants to do. If it wants to express somebody else's emotion, let it. If it wants to express yours, let it. If it wants to do this, do that, do the other, let it. You know what I mean? It's just total submission to music. That is it. Just let it take you. Let it take you away, and let it just become what it wants to become. Don't fight it. There is no point. And it's just totally pointless to fight music. Why are you doing it? If you want to play music, why would you fight it? Like I say, it's like refusing help when you need it. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah. But like I say, I do feel it comes from it just comes from somewhere else. Things get projected into us through one thing or another. They do. And it all comes from music. It really does. It comes from it. And it's gorgeous. There's nothing better, in my opinion. Again, just me. But yeah, so I hope that made some kind of sense. Like I said, I spoke about this a lot, but I always kind of I love talking about this kind of thing. So I'm never not going to talk about it. So I hope that made some kind of sense anyway. But I do feel it's really important just to kind of when music wants something of you, you have to be available for it, and you just let it take you. You don't fight it. You don't go against it. You don't question it. You just go with it. You know what I mean? there are some times where you'll get into a bit of a ruckus with it, but invariably it's because you're wanting to do one thing and it wants you to do another, and you're like, no, but I want to do this, and music's like, well, we're not doing that, and you just have to, you have to kind of swallow your pride, because that's just ego at that point talking, and you have to just kind of like swallow that and go, okay, fine, we'll do what you need, and invariably, it's always right. Invariably, you're wrong. Just let it go and let music take over, because it knows better. It just does. It always will. There's no point trying to fight something. It's like playing. If you've never played chess before, it's like playing chess with like a master chess player. You're not gonna win. So there's no point going against it. Just let it do what it'll do, and and that's the best thing for it anyway. Just let it be, and let it take control. Just become that marionette. Just become that conduit. That's all you need to be. Shut this off and let it come from there. All you need to do. And it's great when you can do that. It really is. And it's really important to do that. It really is. So anyway, I hope that's made some kind of sense, people. As usual, I've had the fear there the entire time this episode. But I hope that's made sense. I'm going to have to stop talking. I'll talk about that for hours if I'm not careful. But I hope that's made sense. I hope I answered your questions okay. I hope you enjoyed this vid. If you also submit a question for A&Q Wednesday, description box below has an email link. Email me there, and I will get to your question when I get to it. And I hope you enjoyed this vid. I'll see you again on Friday for another vid. I forget what it is. I did remember, but I've forgotten because I got talking about music, which is which is my favourite thing to talk about. I love it. If it's not talking about guitars, it's talking about music. So all's well. I think it drives people insane. Definitely drives people insane. Anyway, Dave, what are you thinking about? Actually, forget it. Forget I asked. I know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. I'll see you again very soon. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. Goodbye now. Thank you much, Steve, for watching.